In this video, we'll be working on another aspect of Hanumanasana, or splits. In this practice, we'll be using a wall to support the actions of aligning the pelvis. Come to downward facing dog with your heels right at the baseboard or the wall. As you place your hands firmly, with your toes tucked under and your heels reaching toward the wall, lift yourself up as you reach your weight back to your heels. Step your left foot forward. Keep your right heel at the wall. Balance yourself. Lift yourself up to come to a high lunge. Keep on rooting back through the back heel. Inhale, balance yourself. You can reach your arms up and have this fullness of the front body. Just drop yourself a little bit lower in the pose. Release your hands down. Step back to downward facing dog. Step your right foot right between your hands. Keep pressing your left heel back to the wall. And as you press your back heel to the wall, maybe you can just settle yourself deeper into the pose. And I like just doing just like a small sort of bobbing action to get the connective tissue hydrated, to find more fullness to the pose. With the back heel anchored, you can keep your pelvic points as parallel as possible. Drop yourself down a little bit more. Reach your arms up again and get this nice fullness in the pose. Maybe you can take your gaze up, keeping your back heel anchored. Release your hands down to the mat. Step back to downward facing dog and pause. Enjoy your breath. Come down to all fours position. In splits, or Hanumanasana, you want the pelvic point, just like we were working with in the lunge, pelvic points forward. Maybe you've seen splits where the hip points are not oriented toward the front. It's more like an open hip action. We'll be working on a closed hip action with the back leg working with an inner rotation to get the hip point forward. Let's work again in downward facing dog with your heels right at the wall. Come to downward facing dog. Reach your right leg high to the sky. Tuck your right toes under. Walk your hands a little bit closer to your left foot as you keep on lifting your right foot up. See if you can come toward a straight right leg. Now, think about drawing the toes of your left foot away from the mat, just to get some work on balancing out the actions of the legs. Release your toes down of the left foot back to the mat. Walk your hands forward and place your foot down. Come to either child's pose or downward facing dog, just to give yourself a little break, a little pause. I call these splits at the wall. Just keep a nice ease in your breath, a nice softness. Let's come to downward facing dog at the wall again. So as you place your hands with your toes tucked under, your heels pressing the wall, take your left leg up, tuck your toes under. See if you can lift your foot a little bit higher as you walk your hands in toward your standing leg. So you want to keep the toes tucked under so you can draw in that same internal rotation of the top of the thigh. You can draw the hip forward so that you can parallel the hips. If you'd like to just add that extra lifting the toes up off the mat so that you can work both legs so powerfully, go ahead and do that. And slowly again, walk your hands out and come to rest in child's pose or downward facing dog. We've worked on the back leg action in both a lunge and a split at the wall. Now let's do that in Hanumanasana. I like using the supportive blocks as we take these baby steps toward the pose. Now we're away from the wall. I like working my front foot off the mat. When the front foot is off the mat, it just has a little bit more ease in the transition to extend out. Use your blocks as support for your pelvis. As you step your right foot forward, make a platform for your pelvis. Make your platform high. So I'm turning the block really high, so I'm not working the hamstring as much as I'm just working these two actions that we've worked with so far. Keep your back legs strong. Tuck your toes under, just like we did in the lunge and at the split at the wall. You can reach your foot forward, just allow it to slide nicely and lift your toes up. So the back foot is tucked under. It's allowing your hip to come forward and parallel to the front edge of the mat. And you celebrate on this side in the pose, nice fullness. Release your hands down and come to change sides. So you might find that books work nicely as you step your left foot forward and find a way to allow your sit bone to just settle to the block so that you can get first the length of the quadriceps on the back leg. You tuck your toes under, and that allows for, again, this internal rotation of the upper inner thigh. As you extend your toes forward, you just reach them forward and lift your toes up in a nice dorsiflexion of the ankle. So you keep the back leg strong, your hip points parallel to the front edge of the mat, and celebrate. Reach your arms up. You're in the fullness of the pose, Hanumanasana. Release your hands down. Come back to child's pose or lie down in Shavasana. These are baby steps to come toward the fullness of the pose, Hanumanasana or split. Thanks for joining me. We'll work on hamstrings in the next video on our baby steps to Hanumanasana. Thanks for joining the practice. I look forward to continuing work on the alignment principles in this pose, in Hanumanasana. Namaste.